Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. It's Friday, so we have Khyber Shards answers and are joined by Casey. Hi, Casey.
Hello.
So we have a relatively small number of questions today, which means I'm going to ask a question, which is this whole...
If you ask a question, then I didn't get to read and think about it and process.
With the whole job that the team has been on up to this point, where is Shade's moral compass in this? Because this has kind of become the theme of this adventure, is the shifting willingness to just plain cold-blooded murder. Because, at the beginning, Ari and Ezri were both like, no, we're not assassins. And then Ezri very quickly got fed up and joined Team Murder. And Pog and Shade were always just right down for killing someone. So I'm curious, what about it, to your mind, what about it makes Shade so comfortable with this guy is just in the way? He hasn't actually done anything to you initially. What makes Shade so comfortable just offing him?
He is not only is he not part of her tribe, which is growing, and she is learning from that too, that, it doesn't have to be your 3 other people to be considered part of the tribe. So not only is he not part of her tribe, so that automatically makes killing you a little bit easier.
Sure.
But he is preventing, in Shade's eyes, he is now preventing the, how do I word this? Like, protecting her tribe. If he is no longer, she saw that very quickly with Shelshadra. Selshadra. I put the SH in the wrong place.
I do too.
Very quickly, we can protect our people if that seat is open. And so it's not just he's a nuisance.
Right.
It's, we can protect them, and I'll say protect 14 more times, from a place of power, of authority. This is not just keeping watch on the school to make sure nobody's attacking in the middle of the night. This could be real change in the sense of getting Thora into authority, of getting us seen for who we are, rather than just trying to hide in the shadows and protect ourselves in the corners.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So, and then
go.
And then when I think it was Ezri brought up that conversation after the Red Ring attack, and he was like, well, I was probably just drunk that day. Done. Like, it took all of Shade's self-control to not just punch him and or slit his throat on the spot. Like, that scene is just so impactful for her.
Yeah.
Now, is she missing the irony that they are now in the place of power and talking about somebody's life right in front of them? Yes, 100% she is missing that.
I was enjoying that irony a lot during this last episode. That was really great. It would not have been better if I had just deliberately decided to try and set up a position where you guys flipped that in that way. It was great. So
it's awful. It's painful as a not murderous hobo.
And that's my question. As a player, what is it like? Because I'll be honest. Initially, I had this sort of scene in my head where partway through where Jonas appeared harmless, but if you guys like allowed him to lead you off on this thing to go find Berrigan, it would like lead you into an ambush with the Saugan. And I was very back and forth on whether he would like then like reveal this power in himself and join in the fight, because the lore on the Wilkes family is that they have a history of being powerful sorcerers, but no one really knows whether or not Jonas is, or if he's just like all of the family talent has skipped a generation.
Interesting.
And so I was very back and forth on that. And then of course you guys went a different direction. So that encounter where you guys got ambushed by Saugan down in their lair didn't play out. And it just became very fun for Wilkes to be effectively harmless, because I was enjoying the tension that it was putting on the player characters. So I'm curious, what has it been like as a player for me playing this person who's annoying, but not, I think, like insistently annoying, and who, in spite of being kind of a sleazebag, has to a certain degree the moral high ground in these conversations.
To a certain
I can't
degree,
decide whether that's
he's bagged and gagged. Like,
yeah, he's a victim right here.
Right.
What has that been like as a player from being on that side of things?
In the back of my mind, every time Jonas says something, Casey, the player, is like, nope, it's a really good point. Like, that's super valid, buddy. As someone who enjoys stories, I have absolutely enjoyed the humor of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I mentioned earlier, just the full circle. Now they have the power over a Storm Lord, which is just great fun to play with.
Mm-hmm.
But as somebody who I consider myself fairly empathetic. I feel so bad for the guy. We're just openly discussing his murder. He, we didn't try any tactics other than leave. Oh, you said no. Okay, we're tying you up and taking you with us. Surely there were other ways around that. Now, definitely not ways that this group would have been good at addressing. So yes, I feel bad for him. But it's also been a lot of fun. We've talked about that before, how I've been enjoying playing characters that I think are so vastly different than my typical go-tos.
Yeah.
And Shade's propensity for murder has this sounds really bad, has been a lot of fun.
It has. I mean, it has provided a lot of it's like Shade fills a role that's like Drax in all the Guardians of the Galaxy films, except that she's not like quite so much of a dumb oaf as Drax tends to has been more and more as the movies have gone on. But just like just kill him. Like, it's just that's the
Right.
go-to. I could permanently solve this situation if you'll just get out of my way.
And a legitimate solution to the current problem.
Right. Yes. That has been fun because it is D&D. And so it's not like, a D&D campaign where every solution is going to be diplomatic is going to not use half of D&D. We should just play a different rule set if we're not going to fight anyone. So it's, I don't know. It's an amusing tension of the way this game is set up to solve a lot of conflicts by way of combat, but sort of applying a realistic, but do we really need to kill everyone who's inconvenient to us?
Right.
Which that's been funny. Yeah. Okay, we have some questions.
Poor Ari.
Excuse me. I have felt bad for Ari this adventure. I'm always worried when I put any pressure on Ari, because I just worry that Ari will go like swing way out of control into full on goth meltdown. And Ari is in a lot of ways the sort of ballast of this group, and so
right.
every now and again I worry that I'm going to break Ari, and I have no idea what happens if Ari breaks.
Ooh, I think we become the villains of the
I mean, that's an interesting turn of events. I'd be really interested to know what would happen if the Dane Thora debate happened now, because I feel like the group has moved a little, like the clock has, the compass has shifted a little more in Dane's kinds of solutions direction, and so I kind of wonder if they could have that debate over again, whether Dane would win over Thora.
Well, but even though we do tend to skew towards Dane's solution, our respect for Thora, even when we had that argument at the time, our respect for Thora in a lot of ways counterbalances it. I don't think a lot of us disagreed with Dane, but chose Thora rather than Thora's solution in that sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, and this is the first time, like, you guys had a little bit of a briefing with Thora, and Thora was less insistent on don't kill anyone, don't kidnap anyone. And apparently this is what happens when Thora doesn't specify don't kill anyone, don't kidnap anyone.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of Shade's willingness is not only is that an acceptable solution to her, but yes, Thora was ambiguous in her directions and how we take care of this, which if you're ambiguous with Shade, then clearly that means that
that's
it's okay.
License to do what you want.
Right. Thora would have said no. She knows. Exactly. Right.
Oh man, that's really funny. As the parent of a teenager. All right, well, we got a few questions. The first one is actually directed at me from Emily, which is, if you were a player instead of the DM for Khyber Shards, what sort of PC do you think you'd have made? I'm really torn, because on the one hand, it would be really fun to just play the party doesn't have a rogue, and so it would be really fun to just play a full-on assassin with this group, because this group would get along really well with some character that is very, X-23 Wolverine at his darkest, Deadpool, like just someone who's just comfortable with murder. On the other hand, I think it would be narratively interesting if, to throw one more character in on the let's be heroes side of this. So give it I mean, my favorite X-Man, as I've said before, is Nightcrawler. And so to throw Nightcrawler into this group, where you have someone who has a very, very strong moral compass, that's maybe based on, because we have no characters that are really religious much. Pog is kind of flirted with the Silver Flame stuff, but
I'm sorry, Calcifer is calling at you on the screen.
Hi, buddy.
Walked right up to it.
Hey, Calcifer. That's really funny. It would be, because Ari's moral compass is very much community based, but it would be interesting to throw a character in who really does hold to a moral compass standard that is higher, and see how that worked as a restraint on the group's behavior, or as a source of conflict, or just, I think that would be an interesting addition, because this whole campaign doesn't have much in the way of religious characters for a medieval fantasy. There's not been a lot of clerics and whatnot, other than Pog's visits to the Church of the Silver Flame.
Mhm.
So that I think that would be a fun addition to this group. So I guess probably that. And if I was going to build Nightcrawler, I mean, I probably wouldn't build Nightcrawler quite that directly, but I guess if I was going to build Nightcrawler, he's probably, I mean, he's obviously a tiefling, and probably he's like maybe a shadow monk or something like that. They get a lot of short range
Ooh.
teleportation, or there's some ways to do it. Some kind of short range teleportation based creature would be what I would try to build. So there you go. And then
That would
Emily
be
would
awesome.
like to know for Casey, how does Nasaria feel about the Sahuagin?
Nasaria is from Stormreach.
Mm-hmm.
So she accepts them as, existing there. But Nasaria also feels that she is above everybody else. So
Mm.
obviously their morals within their culture have some she has some issues with.
Eating people. She's not
Yeah,
comfortable
it's
with
mostly the
eating people.
cannibalism. Yeah, it's mostly the
Yeah.
cannibalism.
I think that's not arrogance. I think opposing eating people is not. I just think I'm better than you. I think that's not. I'm with Nasaria there. And then another question from Emily, and I don't know how well you can answer this. How does Nasaria think her family was affected by the earthquake?
I did not think about Nasaria until you asked this question, Emily. So thank you. But honestly, she probably went and got her family and brought them back to the school. Is what I
Mm-hmm.
picture happening. Um
I mean, that
I
makes sense. Is what we did with Donabella, and so it would
right.
make sense that we would
Very
probably go down the list of let's check on the families where we have families. Not everyone has a family available to them, but Nasaria does. So
right. And she's close to her parents, so she would have wanted to
Mhm.
check on them. And she would want to bring them to safety.
I really want sometime an extended scene with Nasaria and Ilya just to do the city mouse country mouse thing of city drow jungle drow.
Oh man.
Um,
Nasaria interacting with her.
well, like I feel like there's a kinship in that Ilya lets Cadric lead. Like Nasaria doesn't let other people lead so much, but
Right.
Ilya very much lets Cadric lead. There's really no doubt that Ilya is the most competent person in the Rebel Warren gang. Like she's the only person who's really actually done dangerous, life at risk sort of things on purpose.
Right.
Obviously, the Rebel War gang followed you down into a hive of Kruthic, so they have. But
Oh dear.
and so I feel like that's like the overlap in the Nasaria Ilya Venn diagram is I am better at this than everyone around me.
Yeah, Nasaria, I think, would respect Ilya in that. Obviously, their methods of how to achieve anything would be vastly different, but the goal to achieve something
Right.
would they would have that in common. Stop being ridiculous. Let's just do it.
Exactly. Yes. Mia asks, Shade has strong opinions, but in the end, she always seems to be okay going with the general consensus of the group. Do you think there ever might be a time when Shade would have to decide between her individual ideals and her sense of belonging to the group?
Yes.
Does Shade have individual ideals that aren't all about the tribe?
That's an excellent question. My immediate answer was yes, but I'm not sure that I am prepared to explain what that is. Well, I sort of saw there was definitely a complication with Esri being willing to sacrifice himself. Like
Hmm.
she's so committed to keeping the tribe together, and and that has in a lot of ways erased a lot of the members' free will. Like
Hmm.
that's a- as a player, that was Esri's choice, and he was free to make that choice, and it was a selfless, heroic thing to do. And Shade, I completely ignored it. I mean, she
Yeah.
didn't let him do that. And so I felt bad for Esri that Shay didn't respect his decision in that moment. And that's what I thought of immediately when reading through that question.
Hmm.
From Mia was just, I think there definitely will be moments that her her ideals, and like you said, a lot of that is rooted in the success of the tribe, is going to contradict the others individual ideas. um, because
Hmm.
if any of their plans or intentions separate them from the tribe, which is a healthy and appropriate thing, um, Shade, I would not let that happen.
Yeah.
Which is sad that it's such an oh man, words are hard today. Uh, It's just a symptom of her insecurity.
Hmm. The only thing I can think of would be, this hasn't come up in a while, but obviously Shade has a very strong sense of uh, ecological morality and justice. And so
Mm,
but that's not really in conflict with anyone in the party. Like, everybody in the party is also very much yeah, no, nature's awesome. Let's not mess with the jungle. So it seems hard to imagine a situation where that would come into conflict, unless for some reason the party was like, no, let's not go free those animals again. I don't know. Um, but yeah.
that's true. But I think that even in Ari's response to when Esri went to sacrifice himself, is they know where Shade stands. And
Yeah.
so in a lot of these situations, they have, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, but oh, Shade, we know what's going to happen. And so far they have accepted that. There could be a
Yeah.
moment in which there are consequences to her being so hard-headed about those situations, but
Yeah.
right now they seem okay with him.
And then we have a question from Savage Artificer. Where do you see Shade's journey taking her? She was obviously disappointed in the direction her dreams took her. Has she just decided to focus on the Strike Force mission at this point? So I have a question before this. Was Shade disappointed in where her dreams took her?
Yes, I think she expected more community from it.
Mm-hmm.
She expected that there was going to be a solution, something that she could fix and then resolve. And the fact that she believed something so strongly and then was wrong, um, sort of shook her. Um,
Mm.
Now, gaining a relationship with the Sphinx, she is not disappointed in that.
Right.
She is super excited about that particular outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, she has endangered Harazi ever since interacting with her. And so it sort of solidifies in her mind that she's kind of Shade is a ticking time bomb. She's going to harm those that she is close to, um, and or cause them harm. And so it was a little bit of in Shade's opinion, a sad outcome.
Mm. Interesting. So, to return to Savage Artificer's question, has Shade simply decided to focus on the Strike Force's mission? Like, is that the whole of Shade's ambition at this point?
No, there's definitely because of the situation with, or because of the outcome of the dream, right? Not finding the community that she thought she was going to find. Then obviously the strike force and our allies slash tribe extensions have become her community that she's poured into. And so that absolutely is her focus, but so is, as we've seen, and I'm sure this answer gets so tiring. I apologize, but so is her seeking power.
Mm.
That is definitely her willingness, tied up in her willingness to kill Jonas. Like, oh, okay, she does not fully understand what power is or how to obtain it, but she knows that this is what that seat represents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, eh, I think there's two ways that she ends up, and that's either finding her role in this community or leaving the community to seek um the security of power and authority. um and so I don't know, I can't answer the question of where I see her ending up, but I can definitely see this this positive outcome of community, but also this sad, isolating outcome of sacrificing that and struggling with that dilemma of,
Mm.
if the choice is ever my tribe or power, which in her mind would get her longevity, life, then I think that definitely would be, um I don't know what she would choose right now.
Interesting. That's cool. Well, that is all of our questions for this week. So thank you all so much for
Yes,
submitting the
thank you.
questions. If you want to submit questions, you can do that on our Discord, which you can find a link to in the description below, along with all of our other social media. New episodes of Khyber Shards drop every Monday, and new Khyber Shards answers on Fridays. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.